Hello, everyone, and we back.
Hey, guys.
Sorry, we took that 1 week off after the elections, and we were able to sit down and get some things going and all that stuff. I have my good friend Taylor Neptune here once again.
I'm here. I know you missed me. I know.
I mean, you're just becoming a regular on the show. I don't know if we should just make it,
I mean, if I just so happen to see my name pop up across, I wouldn't be surprised.
You know what?
Just
you know
saying.
what? You know what? No, I don't know if we're ready to do that just yet. Hold on. You better settle down over there. No. So I have to thank you now that you're here in person. I'm going to thank you because you stepped in for me a few weeks ago. And that was pretty awesome.
How could I forget it? It was great. It was lovely just talking to you on video on your own show. Great. It was so good.
But we have a wonderful show lined up for you today. So, of course, my good friend Taylor's here, but also I have another friend of mine, a Democratic nominee for District 12 representative here in Rhode Island, Jose Batista. And we're going to be chatting with him a little bit later. But did you guys hear about this? Donald Trump got booed at
yes.
Ruth's funeral. I mean, seriously, dude. Barbara Bush didn't want you at her funeral. John McCain didn't want you at his funeral. If I were you, I would just stop going to people's. You're like that bad baby mama.
And then
like that bad baby mama that goes.
And then had the nerve to call his wife on the last one and say that he was so torn up about it. Yeah, right. Right. The one that she was there with him.
Right.
That one.
Right.
That was pretty funny. And then they actually started. A lot of people started chanting at Ruth Bader Ginsburg's funeral. Vote him out. Actually, towards the end. Right. And that was pretty interesting too to me because that's just a lot.
Funeral?
At a funeral. At a respected person's funeral for people to feel like
that compelled.
That compelled to.
I mean, he's been booed at professional sporting events. Asked not to go to funerals. Not to. I mean, at this point, to be honest with you, if the president was walking by, and you know how they usually say, shake hands and kiss babies.
No.
No, Mr. President.
And no. The funniest thing about that is that Melania didn't get the memo. She doesn't realize that if he's blocked or someone doesn't want him, that they don't want her. She tries to book these gigs and show up and do speeches.
I mean,
they're all like, you kind of count. You kind of count.
I mean, she did.
She just
smile,
doesn't get
though.
it.
She did smile when they were at former First Lady Barbara Bush's funeral. She did smile in the picture with Obama. She was in a picture with Obama.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And the only one not photographed was Donald Trump.
I remember the outfit because of course.
Anyway,
of course.
So sorry for the little humor, but unfortunately, while we were away, Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away, and it felt for many, many people across the country, especially women, because of all the things that she did. So I just want to go through a couple of things that I learned that RBG did.
Yeah, Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
It's
a tongue twister.
It is,
and she's such a respected woman and such a great person. And her death hit pretty hard for many people around the world. Even the demographics that you wouldn't think would be affected by a Supreme Court judge are now in somewhat of a mourning for her life and her legacy.
Exactly. So one thing that she did before Ginsburg, state-funded schools didn't have to admit women. In 1996, United States versus Virginia case, Ginsburg wrote the majority of the opinion that it is unconstitutional for schools to funded by taxpayer dollars to bar women. I mean, I think that right there is huge. It was in a case against Virginia Military Institute, and she had said, Taylor, she has said, there is no reason to believe that the admission of women capable of all activities required of Virginia Military Institute cadets would destroy the institute rather than enhance its capacity to serve the more perfect union. I mean, right there, you're talking about 100 years ago, women had gotten the right to vote. and now going to schools like Virginia Military Institute.
And that's just a theme of most things that she said. Like, most things that she spoke about were things that were saying basically to encompass human rights into everything that we do.
Exactly. Well, at the end of the day, women's rights is human rights.
Yeah.
I mean, let's not be frank. I don't know why why we even try to short it any which way. Another thing that she did, if you don't mind that one.
So women couldn't sign a mortgage or have a bank account without a male cosigner. Ginsburg paved the way for Equal Credit Opportunity Act, which passed in 1974 and allowed women to apply for credit cards and mortgages without a male cosigner, which I didn't know. I didn't know that you had to have a male cosigner. That was something that surprised me, and something that is one of those things that kind of fell through the cracks that someone should have done something about a long time ago.
I mean, and then you think about it, like when you watch old movies before that time period, when you watch old movies and you see like a lot of women really not homeowners, they usually like rented the home, or they are
live with their husband,
or they live with their husband, or they're renting an apartment. Another one, Ginsburg helped women make strides toward equal pay. In 2007, Ginsburg famously went away from the Supreme Court's decision to pay discrimination case in a case Ledbetter versus Goodyear Tire. When she was in the minority, she was a powerful voice and basically changed the game on the way she did, according to Emily Martin, general counsel at the National Women's Law Center in Washington. For example, when 5 justices ruled against Lilly Ledbetter in her pay discrimination case, Justice Ginsburg called to action, inspired the public and Congress to change the law and strengthen equal pay for women. And you know what? Why are women even paid different from men?
It's, again, one of those things that fell through the cracks. It just doesn't make sense. There's no actual reasoning behind why a woman should get paid less for the same job that a male is doing. That's really surprising to me that somewhere that's supposed to be so forward thinking still.
I just feel like it's always that one dumb guy out there saying, they have babies. Like,
if anything, they should get paid more for that.
They should get paid more.
And then that leads into her next thing that she did. Her presence on the court preserved a woman's right to choose. She was a crucial vote on the current court to keep Roe v. Wade, even though she had doubts about the way the monumental case was decided. She was in doubt about women's rights. She was in doubt about women's rights to choose. Now she's gone. It means pro-choice opponents are scared to death of the unknown. They believe her death and replacement will empower state legislature to pass new laws or reintroduce those laws already struck down by the Supreme Court.
I mean, we already seen that with the southern states in Alabama and Georgia.
Yeah.
Last year, where they came up with their own states and they didn't protect women's right to choose in their state. I'm glad our state did. I'm happy that Rhode Island.
How did Rhode Island do that?
Rhode Island, we protected women's right to choose. We did. Good job, Rhode Island. Number 5, she pushed to protect pregnant women. She pushed to protect pregnant women in the workplace. In 1972, Ginsburg argued that excluding a pregnant woman from the Air Force, like in the case of Strzok versus Secretary of Defense, is sex discrimination.
It is.
You know what? It is.
It is.
And it goes back to my earlier statement. Oh, well, women have babies, so they can't do the same jobs as men. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, I've seen strength of a woman. I was raised by women.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
single mom
strength
of 3 boys
women.
here. I've seen it. I have seen it.
Single mom, 3 boys?
3.
Oh, my mother just had 1 son, 1 daughter.
I was the oldest.
That was it. She said she was done. She was like, I'm good. I'm so good. Number 6, Ginsburg argued women should serve on juries. Why not?
Something so basic that you would not even think that you would have to mention. Again, in such a forward-thinking society, or what we like to think of as a forward-thinking society, you would think that that's something you wouldn't have to say. To have a woman, she was
on the jury. If women can commit crimes, If women can commit crimes,
which they do,
which they get convicted for,
mm-hmm.
and it's supposed to be a jury of your peers,
you
then women should be
a woman to represent.
There should be women on the jury.
Yeah.
That's just a no-brainer. I would think so. Number 7.
She was a key vote in granting same-sex marriages, which is amazing. The 2015 case she was involved with allowed queer women and the rest of the LGBTQA plus community the right same-sex marriages in all 50 states. Ended in a 5-4 ruling. Without Ginsburg, the outcome may have been different.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I thank you.
5-4 is not much room for error.
Right? 5-4, there's not much room for error.
Yeah, she was really responsible for helping us expand the concept of gender discrimination, she said.
Exactly. She was. I mean, because you think about it now. Now we get over that hurdle of can gays get married, and it's yes. Now we can talk about the other things, the other issues we have in the community. Don't get me wrong, the fight's not over.
Plenty.
The fight is not over. We still have many fights in our community. Just want to put that out there to a lot of you. Ginsburg made it cool to be a confident, hardworking female leader. And I don't think that needs any explanation.
True. No, it doesn't. But it's very true.
Those are 8 things that I personally that when I read this, I didn't know some of those things. And I'm glad I learned some of those things because I think it's important for us to know our history as people, as a country, and know people and celebrate people like Justice Ginsburg.
Yeah. Like black and brown people we don't see. Like for me growing up, you don't see a lot of black and brown people in media and on TV. And so that plays a part in your psychological mind thinking that, you as a brown and black person can't be on the television or in media. So for people to have someone to look at as a strong female presence is a very, very important thing, especially in the economy.
Now it definitely leads to the question, though. It leads to the question, and people have been asking this question. I've asked myself this question.
Oh, boy. And
the question is, should she have stepped down during Obama's presidency? And
what do you think?
See, it's... To be honest with you, I'm 5'4" on this. 5 of me say...
Oh, boy.
5 of me say yes, she should have, and then 4 of me say no. But, if she would have stepped down, it would have been most likely before 2015. And then maybe that person, we would have never had the influence on the gay marriage bill.
True.
But also, if she would have stepped down, we could have had a secure seat going into now the situation we're having, where with her passing, we could have this woman, Amy something.
That person.
Her.
But I mean,
I'm not with her, by the way.
I mean, but then that goes to say a lot about retirement as a whole for people. It's just a bigger issue than just should she have stepped down, which I don't think she should have, because like you said, you can't argue with her attributes that she's made during her candidacy. I think she definitely, if nothing else, deserved to continue on for a full, for her full term. But, again, there are pros and cons to everything that we do. But then what are you saying about retirement as a whole?
I also say, let me just say this. I also say Justice Thomas should retire too.
I mean, I'm not touching it.
I'm not touching it. Justice Thomas should
retire. Alive, so I'm not touching it.
Is he? Is he? I think he's sleeping sometimes on the bench when I watch it. Like, wow. So Brianna Taylor.
Oh, yes, Brianna Taylor. So, on a much sadder note, even sadder than, someone as big as Ruth Bader Ginsburg passing away, we still are dealing with the Brianna Taylor incident and everything and the backlash from that. It's just been a fight from day one, with the no-knock warrant being a big part of it. Now one officer has been fired, quoting that he was fired for an extreme indifference to human life, but yet we still have the other 2 officers who face no charges, which is apparently still pending as of current. We have a lot of civil unrest as backlash from the Brianna Taylor not being not getting the justice that we all feel is deserved in that case. We have the officer who was charged for the bullets that were shot into the wall, the rounds that were released, and we have a 12 million wrongful death suit, but no one with a wrongful death charge on their account. So it's just a lot going into the Brianna Taylor thing that has created a lot of, like I said, civil unrest with people. And it seems to be one of the cases that we aren't receiving the justice that is due. What do you think about that, Dee?
You know, a lot of people have been asking me my opinion about this, and I haven't really given it. I've just because it's a lot. But Rhode Island, America, the world. The facts of this case is Brianna Taylor and her boyfriend were in the bed lying down. They heard a bust through the door. He got up and went to protect he and his girlfriend. Just like any other American, anyone would want to do. Yeah. Myself, I hear a loud noise downstairs at night. Let me tell you, the Louisville Slugger's coming out while I walk downstairs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He did what any person would do in that situation. And any person that has the right, the constitutional right to protect what's theirs.
Mm-hmm. And it was a legal firearm.
It was a legal firearm.
Legal firearm. I can't say that about many people.
And apparently they weren't even looking. They suspected that they were drugs, and they had no evidence of of her ex-boyfriend being in the house.
Mm-hmm.
So once again, we're talking about the wrongful death of somebody who was making strides in their community and trying to have a better life. And they can't get the justice. But you know, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at this, because at the end of the day, black and brown people don't get the justice they deserve when they are killed by police officers. Mm-hmm. It was shown here in Rhode Island in 2001 when Officer Cornell Young was killed by two police officers, one of which trained with him for 90 days on the police force, and he did not get justice. So if a black police officer couldn't get justice, who showed his badge that night, mind you, who are we? And it brings us to a scary time in America, and it just gets me upset.
Yeah.
It gets me really upset.
It's maddening, actually. It should upset you.
And then they get mad because we're protesting on highways. We're shutting down 95. We're protesting all over the country. Mm-hmm. We're saying that we're sick and tired of being second-class citizens in America as black and brown people, as women, as gay people, as lesbians, as bisexuals, as transgenders, as people, queer people. We're tired of being pushed down.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why I'm still so emotional over this. I'm angry. I'm sad. I'm upset. I'm confused.
In this fight that we've been fighting with all this coverage, still people can say flat out that they don't understand the rioting, and they don't understand the protests, and they don't understand.
No. They say we don't have anything to racism is over.
And
you had a black president.
And demonize behaviors.
Didn't Mitch McConnell said that? He said, well, we gave them a black president. He said that in... What kind of... I can't. I just can't anymore. I just can't anymore. Anyway.
Anywho's.
We got to get ready to go to commercial. I'm going to cool off. We'll be back. Hello, everyone. Welcome
Hey.
back.
Welcome back.
Cooled off a little bit.
Yeah, I smacked him.
Yeah, right. No. So next up, we have someone who I had the privilege of personally meeting over the summer and being able to listen to him at some candidate forums. And he came to my house, sat down. We had a 2-hour conversation about politics.
Oh, wow.
And I got to know him over the time, and he answered all my questions eloquently. And he won in the primary for District 12, Democratic candidate. So I would like to welcome a resident of South Providence, mi hombre, my brother, my friend, Mr. Jose Batista.
Hey, Dion, how's it going? Thanks for having me, man.
Hey, no problem. I'm glad that you responded. How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's kind of close to my bedtime now. It's
You are not wrong.
Listen, I don't blame you. Right after I'm done here, I fall right to sleep, and they have to take me in a casket and pull me and pull me out. That's what happens.
Yeah, my carriage turns back into a pumpkin.
Yep. Yeah. When we're done. So, Jose, how you feeling? You beat Carlos in the primary. Very contended race because Joe Almeida retiring. How are you feeling in this moment right now, if you don't mind me asking?
I mean, I feel good in general. I'm really excited about what's coming in January. There's a lot of time between now and then. What I've been doing so far is a combination of meeting with people in the community, meeting my fellow colleagues and representatives. I've also been surprising a lot of people and knocking on doors again. You know,
that is surprising.
There's a lot of folks that you meet during the summer and they kind of stick with you for one reason or another. You have a funny story, or they kind of wag a finger at you and tell you not to forget them. And so
that's right.
You go by and you knock on their door and you surprise them, you know, and it's been really nice. It's been really nice. I think that politics is something that gets a bad rap sometimes. People get frustrated. They see all the national stuff. But at this level, you know, the state rep, city council, state senator level, it's such a like individual one-on-one thing that you really get a chance to talk to people. And it's really nice, you know. So
yeah,
it's been good, man. Just trying to do my homework, read up on policy, get ready for next year. It's going to be a big one, obviously, coronavirus. And
absolutely. And it pays to relate to the people that you are, you know, going to be working for, so to speak. So that's really good to hear. I know that you've said that one of the biggest political issues of 2020 is social inequality. So could you expand a little bit more on that for us?
Yeah, I mean, the best way to describe that is that um, I think about it in terms of like the Bernie Sanders kind of platform, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a fan of Bernie Sanders. I don't think that we're going to take the exact national platform that he was bringing and bring it to Rhode Island. But what I'm talking about, or what I try to talk about, is systemic injustice. So, what do you hear about? You hear about the schools having issues, like the Providence schools being taken over by the state. I went to Roger Williams Middle School, and I'm very proud of that. You think about
Same here.
coronavirus.
Roger Williams Middle School. That's our alma mater right there. South Side.
Class of 2002, what's up?
I love that. I
Yeah,
love
yeah.
that.
You say class of what? 2000 what?
2002.
2002. Class of 2001.
Think about
2001.
Your real age.
Oh, so we must have crossed paths there at some point.
We definitely crossed paths. We definitely.
But, you know, I mean, public schools are a big issue. Coronavirus is a big issue. We know that. Unfortunately, coronavirus affects a community like ours disparately. And so rather than try to tackle each and every one of those issues by themselves, we need to think about how the system, whether it be the state system, the criminal justice system, the education system, all those systems kind of leave South Providence behind. And so that's a lot of what I want to bring attention to when I run for state rep. And obviously, when we talk about the system, we're going to tackle funding for our small businesses, these sort of equipment, the sort of equipment and care we need to cure the coronavirus down here.
So speaking on the criminal justice system, as a lawyer, and you have experience in representing the community, you are no stranger to representing South Providence. How will this experience translate to being their representative in the state house?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the biggest issues why I ran, right? I've been practicing an attorney for 5 years. My first job was as a public defender, and I got to be the guy in court that would carry the folders and then kind of line up to here. You got 40 cases every day, and you see, again, how the system works, right? I think that we need to fund the public defender's office better. I think that we need to rethink policing, which is something that's taking place a lot. We've been talking about a lot this summer, and I know earlier in the program we talked about Brianna Taylor. Just really think about things, right? The issue with policing in the community is an issue of power, and ultimately, it's we, the people, we, the citizens, that give the government the power. And if we, the citizens, are saying, "Listen, we're not comfortable with the way you're using your power," we need to change that, and that's a lot of what I want to do up there. Outside of my experience as a public defender and attorney, the job that I have now is with PERA, the Providence External Review Authority, PERA. And what we do there is take complaints about police misconduct, specifically the Providence police, right? And try to reform policies, try to bring good ideas to the table, because unfortunately we pay attention when these big national tragedies, but the reality is that there's a lot of little things that take place.
So with everything going on, you just mentioned PARA. What have you guys been doing to move things? What are some things you're working on in PARA to move things forward correctly? If you're able to talk about those things, I hope you are able to talk about those things. But I would like to know, we as a community people would like to know what are some of the things that PARA is doing to, because you guys are the police external review.
So Providence External Review Authority, and what we do is
Providence.
Okay. So you oversee police complaints, things like that, correct?
Yeah, and the reality is, so I'll tell you two things about it. Number one, even before PARA, there was already a way for people to file complaints about police misconduct.
They just didn't know about it.
That way exists inside of the police department. So if you have a bad experience with a police officer, the way you had to go about it was go into the same police department where that police officer and file a complaint. Now, they do a lot of good work. They try really hard, but there's an inherent kind of discomfort with people trying to do that. So that's where PARA comes in, where the idea being it's a simpler, safer, more confidential way for civilians like yourselves, like myself, to go and make complaints. And so my job has been pretty cool. My job has been to kind of build the system from the bottom up. When I came in about a year and a half ago, there was nothing. We had to build it. And so, you know, everything from the most mundane tasks to the really big tasks I've had to do. Part of the biggest thing, again, is taking complaints on how to investigate the police. And you learn really quickly that there's a bunch of laws and regulations that are meant to, for better or worse, protect the police, right? They're there to put a wall.
Of course.
Yeah.
They
And
did.
you mentioned earlier, that COVID plays a part in this, and with all the work you're doing with Para. How do you think that the recent uptick in protests affects what you guys are doing?
I mean, on the one hand, as a civilian, I think it's a good thing, right? I personally went to at least one of the bigger protests this summer, the one that had 10,000 people, I think, right
Yeah,
after,
I remember seeing you. I remember seeing you there.
Yep.
right after the George Floyd incident. And I think it's beautiful. I mean, you got these young people, 16, 17, 18 years old, organizing this entire thing. And, I'm coming at this being 32, which is, not necessarily that old, but also not 16 years old either, right? So we're
Right.
seeing,
Right.
on top of us being young millennials, we're seeing this entirely new generation come up and kind of put some pressure on us, right? Because you feel the difference being 30 something as opposed
You
to
know, it's funny you say that, because I said to myself, I said, I'm 33, and what have I been doing this entire time? So that's why I've taken the approach.
It's captured our interest now.
I've taken the approach of, let's not sit here and tell these young people to be silenced or anything. Let's hear what they have to say, and let's come to the table. But I think, I don't know, and this is what I believe, I think that our generation, Jose, the three of us here, is kind of that bridge between the older generation and the generation before us and the generation after us, where we have to say, hey, listen, we understand these same hardships that you guys are going through. We're actually currently still going through some of these same hardships, but it's also different from what the old generation kind of, sort of, because technology comes into play and things like that. So
yeah, it's captured our interest, and it's forced us to become a part of the things that are going on in the day-to-day basis that normally older people or people who are involved in politics would tell us that we're not experienced or we don't know what we're talking about. Whereas now it's more of a, this is what we want and we're going to find a way to get it.
Right. So with that said, you had many endorsements during your campaign. Senator Quesada endorsed you, Councilman Pedro Espinal, great people, endorsed you, strong candidates. Could you tell me, do you have a political mentor?
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like I'm going to get in trouble either way. I don't think I have one.
Perhaps.
I don't think I have one political mentor. Obviously, the two people that you mentioned were instrumental to my campaign this summer, and they're also, specific people. They don't just happen to be candidates. They kind of represent change, right? Senator Quesada's been there only 2 terms, I think. Pedro's been there less than a year, and so they represent kind of this new wave of new energy, new ideas, and obviously their support was really helpful in my campaign. And so what I'm hoping to do is join them and bring that new effort. I'm a firm believer in things like term limits. I think that politics and political seats are not meant for 10, 20, 30 years. I think that you need to constantly be getting people in, and whether it's for me 4, 6, 8 years, who knows, or if there's somebody who's 18 years old and comes up, I think, that's a good thing. So I think those two folks are really great. I remember getting first really inspired about politics locally when Mayor Angel Tavares was coming up. He was such a transcending figure. I'm good friends with Mayor Dios in Central Falls and his partner, Senator Sandra Cano, who, just really, young people, humble people, and all they're trying to do is help, right? Unfortunately, in politics, you see sometimes people get interested in the wrong thing. So I like to focus on the people who are focused on the right thing in the community.
So, you mentioned it a little bit earlier, but your identity as an immigrant, how do you think that comes into play with Rhode Island? And what kind of foreground background situation?
Yeah, so I'm personally not an immigrant. I was born and raised right in here in South Providence. I'm the son of immigrants. My parents, my dad's from Dominican Republic, my mom's from Puerto Rico. I think that experience is very important because I have firsthand experience of what it's like to grow up low income, to grow up on the minimum wage, to grow up and not know, how the bill is going to be paid, or don't take things for granted, right? When I was in school, when I was, back to school shopping for me was often like 2 pairs of jeans, a pair of shoes, and good luck for the rest of it. And so,
seriously,
my parents did an extraordinary job. and you know, making sure we had enough and making sure that there's always food on the table, that sort of thing. So that's the experience that I'm going to bring to the State House. When I talk about raising the minimum wage, it's not just an idea. It's, I lived it. I watched my mom live off the minimum wage. I watched what it was like to raise kids with the minimum wage, right? So I feel like you need those stories based on real lived experience in order to be able to make a good case to pass legislation. That's where I want to talk about my criminal defense experience, right? So my experience as some immigrants is very important to me, and I'm going to use it to try to be persuasive and pass good legislation at the State House.
Yeah,
I hear that.
I hear you.
I hear that. So, on September 23rd, a group of peaceful protesters moved onto Highway I-95 in response to the Brianna Taylor lack of charges. They were met with angry officers who pepper sprayed them. What would Para do if someone who was pepper sprayed filed a complaint through Para?
So if somebody were subject to violence, whether it be pepper spray or physical violence or anything of the sort, the process would be to file a complaint with Para. That can be done either, via our telephone hotline, which is, I'll share the telephone hotline here so that everybody who's watching can have it, 401-256-3941. That's the cell phone number, the hotline for Para. So anybody who wants to be in touch with Para, be in touch with me. That's the.
Could you repeat that one more time for us so we make sure our viewers have that number, please?
Yeah, no problem. 401-256-3941.
Thank you.
You can email para@providenceri.gov. So the bottom line is you want to file a complaint with Para. The first thing that happens when you file a complaint with us is I personally, as the executive director, review it, kind of analyze it, see what's going on, and then make a recommendation to the board. The board, who's a board of 9 people, they're civilians, non-police, they ultimately vote on whether they think that the case should be investigated, whether it would be more appropriate to be mediated, which means having a conversation with the police as opposed to investigating it, or whether there's not enough information at all. And so there's a process that we've set up that would have to go through, but ultimately what we can do through that process is have a hearing, right, with evidence so we can learn a little bit more about what happened. And ultimately, at the end of that, is make recommendations to the police department about whether they should be using such instruments at all. You can make a pretty good argument that pepper spray should only, if ever, be used in the most extreme of extreme situations. Right. That's part of the concern we see here, right? We got some folks, for the most part, being civil and protesting, which is your right as a person in this country.
Absolutely.
And not just in Providence, but all over the country. You're seeing it met with unrest and resistance. And so it's a really good topic, really important topic, and that's why we're there. And so I hope anybody who has any questions will please be in touch.
Yes. So
for sure.
Well, what's your opinion on this year's presidential election? How do you think it's going to either wins? If Trump wins, how do you think that affects Rhode Island? If
the world.
Well, if Trump wins, goodness gracious.
The world. Oh, the world.
But if Joe Biden wins, how does that affect Rhode Island?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you one thing, right? We could talk about the politics forever. I honestly, like everybody else, I am very worried if Trump wins. I mean, the wheels might come off of the bus. I think we're in a very precarious position. But what I hope people do now, it just, by yourself, because there's so much groupthink going on and we can't even have this conversation in public, just really analyze what's going on, right? And President Trump, you have a man who literally contributes nothing to the federal government by way of taxes, right? He's somebody who owns all these businesses and does all these things. He contributes nothing to the federal government, brags, lies, ridicules.
Consistently lies.
I mean, it's just unreal, right? It's
narcissistic.
So, what do I think happened? I think Biden will win. I'm desperately hoping he'll win. And at a minimum, because Lord knows the country was not perfect before Donald Trump, but at a minimum, we'll return something back to normalcy where we can actually...
Some decency back to the country.
Right. Some respect back on the presidency as a whole.
Yes.
Where we can trust at a minimum that we're getting the information we need. I mean, for months, Trump has told us, oh, don't worry about coronavirus. Don't worry about coronavirus. And fast forward a few months and 200,000 people dying. and he's still telling us not to worry about coronavirus. So like, what is going on?
Yeah.
You got all these other countries in the world that are supposedly not as advanced as the United States.
He's basically saying, yeah, there's still people that are living, so
Right.
I did something right.
You know, I'll make a quick input of something else that I feel passionate about, which is mental health, and something that I feel we need to talk about, and something I hope to do at the State House. But on the one hand, I feel very compassionate. I feel a lot of compassion towards President Trump. He just needs not to be president, right? Go get all the help you need.
Yeah.
Just stay very far away from the Oval Office. That's all.
Yeah. So since we have you here and you are the tippy top of the para branch here, there was one more thing I wanted to ask you about that. Can a person that witnesses police brutality file a complaint?
One more time?
Can a person that witnesses police brutality file a complaint?
Yeah, you actually can. Absolutely.
Oh, okay. And that's something that you guys handle on a more like regular basis, I would say.
It generally the people who file the complaint is the person that actually goes through
Was involved. Yeah.
Yeah. But there is a space where witnesses can file a complaint. Also, if you don't want to talk to me, if you want to skip the step of talking to me, you can just go straight to the website and file a complaint. Super easy to do. The website for us is www.providenceri.gov. That's the city. That's the city website. In order to find us, you want to put /ERA. Para.
Okay.
And you'll see a little button that says file a complaint. You click on that, and then you fill out the form. That form comes straight to me. Nobody else will see it. You don't have to worry about your information being out there. It won't be super confidential, super private. Yeah. And then I'll follow up within a business day or two to talk about more details about the case.
All right. That's good to know.
Jose, I have two more questions and little fun questions.
I love your fun questions.
Right? I know, right? That's so
I'm always like, wait, I've never thought of that.
No, right. Okay. So, the first one I like to ask, because usually I'm hungry at this time, but I'm not today. But so, what is your go-to comfort food?
Oh man, go-to comfort food. I'll give you two here in Providence. I'm half Dominican, half Puerto Rican, so I like my Spanish food, my Dominican rice, beans, and
oh yeah,
meat on Broad Street.
Roca con pollo, chuletas,
la gran parada, all those
yeah.
Oh my gosh!
I'll tell you one specific thing. I'm a big fan of buffalo chicken, and my favorite buffalo chicken sandwich in the city is at the West Side Diner on Westminster. So.
Oh.
Okay. And if you could have lunch with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be?
Man, dead or alive?
Mm-hmm. Right?
I'll tell you somebody I've been thinking about a lot recently, and obviously this is a very long list. I say Muhammad Ali.
Oh, interesting. Oh,
Muhammad Ali is very interesting.
Yeah.
Side note, I went in, and it was in 2010. I went to his museum, and I was truly inspired.
Yeah. I've been listening. I don't really have TV. I don't watch TV. So what I do in the, spare time, whatever that is that I have, I like watching YouTube videos, interviews, and things like that. And I stumbled upon a couple of interesting interviews of Muhammad Ali. And obviously what I'm talking about is the fact that he did not go fight in Vietnam. He stood up for what he believed in. And I think a lot of what's happening in the country now, you have this debate about Colin Kaepernick and patriotism, and what does it mean to love this country, right? And a lot of times, as James Baldwin would say, in order, somebody who loves this country will criticize this country because you love it. And Muhammad Ali wasn't afraid to do that. And as I think about what's happening now, and how I want to love this country, how I want to contribute to this country, sometimes you have to criticize it, and you have to do it from a place of love. And I think he was really good at doing that. So I've been thinking about him a lot recently.
We need some snaps on that one.
Right? I'm gonna quote that.
That was deep. That was deep right there.
I'm gonna quote that when I'm criticizing people in public.
Well, Jose, my friend, it's always good to talk to you, to see you. Call me. We can go on one of those walks together. You know what? thank you for doing that. You know, a lot, like you said, a lot of politicians don't do that. They don't go back and
Means a lot.
say thank you for
Yeah.
your vote. Thank you for supporting me. And if you didn't support me, well, hey, I'm going to be representing you. And what are some of the biggest issues you have? Thank you for doing it. Thank you for being a leader. So
Yeah. Thank you for having me on, man, and thank you for your help. It's been great. Look forward to working with you.
okay. And Jose, I'm going to give you a grade.
Oh boy.
Of an A minus.
He's a hard teacher.
An A minus. I'm going to give you A minus. I don't give A's. But you could try to work hard to get that A. But as you know, why I give A minuses and we start high.
Why?
Because it's up to them. It's easy to get an A. It's hard to keep an A.
Ah, interesting.
Think about it.
No pressure.
All right. Well,
I'm gonna think of some creative ways to see if I can break that threshold and get
Tiara said the same thing.
Tiara
said,
did say the
she
same
said the
thing.
same thing. She's gonna try to find some ways to get some extra credit.
I mean, it's just when somebody puts you there, it's just like, all right, you got to figure it out. How am I gonna do what nobody else is doing?
Well, Jose, it's good to see you, bro. Thank you so much for coming on today.
All right, thank you. You guys have a good night.
Thank
you
you.
too. You have a good night.
You too.
Thank you, and we'll we're back. That was a great conversation with Jose.
It really was.
You know what? I gotta say, we've had some great conversations on this show.
Honestly,
so far,
yeah.
So far, and I'm looking forward to more conversations. And I have to thank everyone out there that's been watching, and that's been sharing and creating watch parties and all that. All of
the social media jazz.
All the social media jazz.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So I think that's it. That's all.
I think we're gonna call it a night. Yeah.
You know what? I gotta shout out Drag Brunch that we went to last Sunday.
Oh,
I can't.
It was great.
Yeah, I feel like if Jackie Collins knew we did not shout out Drag Brunch.
I don't know if you're watching Jackie, but
she'll see me in the street. No, but Jackie Collins, Mama Jackie, Auntie Jackie, to a lot of people, and Ginger Ale, former Empress, and Miss Gay Rhode Island,
right?
As well as Edwina Typhoon, former Imperial Crown Princess, and it was also Lady Sabrina as well. We went to a wonderful drag brunch out in Pawtucket at I forget the name of the place.
The Atrium in Pawtucket, I believe it was on Main.
Atrium in Pawtucket.
Yes.
Food was pretty good.
The food was
The
phenomenal.
food was phenomenal. It was really good.
We ordered one of everything.
Really
It was awful.
We actually did at our table.
It was
we ordered
pretty
one of
awful.
everything, and we were sitting there just like scooting things, like having a good old like family style. Hey, how you doing? There you go.
That's how you do brunch.
That's how you do
That's how you
brunch.
do brunch.
With a few mimosas, some punch.
A lot of mimosas.
A few. Okay, a lot. Anyway, so don't forget, tomorrow I will be on where we continue the conversation from today on Coffee with Dee. Catch me tomorrow, and then
Friday, I'm gonna be doing Tea with Taylor, Fears and Phobias. So catch that. You'll see all the links online, Facebook Live at 4:00.
No problem. So remember, until next time, Rhode Island, be safe. Peace. Good night, Rhode Island.